All right, thank you for dining with us today. Here's your fresh and authentic Xenomorph. There you go. Thank you. I appreciate that so much. Alrighty. Is there a problem with your order, sir? Yeah, I'm sorry. Can I send this back, please? It's not accurate enough. I mean, that is a fresh, authentic Xenomorph, and that is what you ordered, sir. But yeah, absolutely, I'll take that back. Is there anything I can do? Anything I can pass on to the chef for advice? Can I have a face-hugging Xenomorph instead? Here you go. Fresh Xenomorph, this time Facehuggers instead. Thank you. Sorry about the trouble again, but thank you. Thank you so much. All right. What's the problem this time, sir? It tastes too much like pig. Like pig? Yeah, it tastes like pig traps instead of the Xenomorph. Can I? Yeah, I know. What do you want this time? Can I have a wall-crawling Xenomorph instead? I don't really think we're the kind of restaurant that has the equipment to make something like... Please, it'll be perfect. Fine, we'll try. All right, wall-crawling Xenomorph, just as you ordered, sir. What is this? This looks awful. Yeah, I warned you that our kitchen couldn't really make wall-crawling Xenomorphs. That's essentially like walking into a McDonald's and asking for a 5-star seafood dish. The chef did the best he could. Well, if he couldn't have done it, I wish he wouldn't have tried at all. Now listen, I did warn you that it was an unrealistic expectation. You know, can you guys even make an authentic Xenomorph? Can I have that knife real quick? Yeah? Why? Thank you. I appreciate that so much. There we go. Hi guys, Bran here, and welcome to another commentary video. Man, you're getting a lot of these out of me lately. This is going to be another one of those ones. It's more like a rant video because people just keep saying things that keep upsetting me. So I'm going to talk about the things that people say that continue to upset me. And this one is focused on the tried and true argument that always pops up every once in a while. For some reason, it's doing the rounds again on DBD Twitter, is that the Alien chapter, specifically the killer of the Xenomorph, the power was super disappointing and doesn't fit the character at all, and the killer overall was a failure, which is a load of garbage, by the way, because we're getting probably the biggest chapter we've ever gotten this summer, because of the way that the Alien chapter was seen by the creator of Five Nights at Freddy's. It was seen as a success and so impressed that they decided that, hey, I trust you with my IP. But yeah, they did a horrible job. They did terrible. It doesn't fit the character at all. They did a horrible job. Doesn't fit the Xenomorph at all. That's why we got that, right? There's just, yeah. I'm not going to rest my entire argument on that, but instead I want to get in and dissect a lot of people's suggestions on what should have happened instead, since the tail attack is such a bad power that just doesn't fit the character. So yeah, go ahead and get into it. So first off, I want to dissect the whole tail attack thing in general, because the tail attack is being, you know, put forward as just a boring power that just doesn't fit the Xenomorph at all, and it's just a clone of the other anti-chase killers. So first off, I don't know if you've actually watched the Alien movies, but the Xenomorph uses its tail in almost every single film. It's actually more rare that it doesn't use its tail at some point in the movie. I actually watched back the movies relatively recently with my partner, and I was watching them through, and it uses it in the first one, uses it in the second one, even a little bit in the third one. Even in Alien Romulus, which is the brand new film, there's the really dynamic scene where she's falling down that shaft and the Xenomorph catches her with the tail, and you think, oh wow, that's weird. Why did the Xenomorph save her? And then it like lures it over to a facehugger, and you're like, oh, oh, okay. So yeah, the Xenomorph does use its tail. And matter of fact, the titular game that everybody seems to point to, that being AVP 2010, which is, by the way, an excellent game. Love that game to death. I was raised on that game. AVP 2010 by Rebellion, amazing game. The main game that people point to is that, like, we should have had that. You know what one of the main things you did on that character was in that game? You attacked things with your tail. You had a tail stab that hit the people you were going after. Isn't that really weird? It's almost like it's an important part of the character that that part of its tool set that it uses in almost every media that it's in. It's almost like it fits or something. Oh my god. I think, like I said, the other half of this is just that people are burnt out on anti-chase powers, and a lot of people think they're not healthy for the game, which is fine, but that's a separate discussion. If you're talking about does it fit the character, it absolutely does. It absolutely does. But I think this is also an excellent segue into us beginning to talk about the suggested powers that it should have had instead, because if we had those better, then everybody in the universe was singing Kumbaya. Every single Alien fan would rush to this game because he's the perfect character ever, right? So in Alien vs. Predator 2010, you are able to run along the walls because the game is designed from the top to the bottom for the alien to be allowed to do that, because there are 3 separate campaigns, and one of them being the Xenomorph. So you should be able to in every way be the Xenomorph, because a third of the game is based off your character. That is a game that is designed from the top to the bottom to have a Xenomorph as a core aspect of its game. So mechanics are designed in such a way that they can have crazy stuff like wall crawling. That is one of the biggest things that I have seen people suggest for the Xenomorph that would have made it actually faithful, is if it could climb on walls. And with a different game and a different dev studio, yeah, of course we would want that. But I'm sure you have seen, whether you're playing rush killers, whether you're playing ranged killers, Xenomorph being one of them, ironically enough, that the collision in this game is kind of wonky. It's kind of weird. I mean, there's been plenty of bugs recently just with the Houndmaster, where like trying to get around objects, the dog gets stuck, or the dog will refuse to take an order, or the dog will fly off of something and get stuck in midair. That is what would happen if the Xenomorph had wall crawling, if it was implemented today in 2025. That's what would happen. You would have stuff like that happening, because collision is already wonky and weird and plays poorly with range killers, rush killers, and any sort of complicated killer there is. Imagine having a full actual killer, like a full player on that wall, messing with that very same collision. It would be a nightmare. They would be the buggiest killer in game history. They would not function. They would be getting stuck on the upside down rolly chair on Autohaven. They would get stuck on the little piece of gunk, the little orange gunk that's on RPD. They would be in every bug fix patch if you implemented that tomorrow. It would not work. The only thing that would come close is if we use Singularity's biopod system to try and make kind of like a leapfrog effect. That was a coined term by Epida in my chat. Leapfrog around, so you could like pick what spot you go to that's actually fine and then jump back down. You do something like that. But that is the closest we could get to something like that. True wall crawling like you see in Alien vs. Predator 2010 would not work in Dead by Daylight. Say it with me. It would not work in Dead by Daylight. The game is not built from the top to the bottom like that game to have traversable surfaces from every angle. That's not how this game was built. This game was not built with something able to crawl around every single object or wall in the map in mind. It was not a thing. I also am not even sure why people frankly want this, because a lot of the maps in the game, this would be useless. There's so many maps that are just open cornfield. Open junkyard with nothing there to stick on. There's so many maps in this game where this power would just do nothing. So I don't know why people want it so badly. So let's talk about another one. Let's talk about another one that's like really, really wanted and feels like, well, they missed out because they didn't add this, which is the chest burster facehugger situation, right? A lot of people have suggested that the Xenomorph should have came with a pig-like system where, like, if they down someone, they can bring out a facehugger that facehugs them. Now they have a chest burster inside them, and if they don't clear themselves or cleanse themselves somehow, they get chest bursted, right? So let me follow that logic then. So if we are mad at Xenomorph because Xenomorph has the tail attack, which is another clone of anti-chase killers, why are we cloning them off of the pig now? If the whole thing is like the current power they have is boring because it's too similar to things that have previously existed in the game that are frustrating, why are we ergo then going to give it a power supposedly that's going to fix everything that is also very, very similar, almost identical to another killer's power, which also can be frustrating? I'm sure you guys have faced a pig that has tried to do the tunnel down head pop thing. Why are we doing that? If one of our base principles for designing this character and how to make them better is that we got to get rid of this current power they have because it's too samey, let's just copy paste something else from a different killer and put it on. Like, let's put our money where our mouth is, because if we truly hate the tail attack because it's too samey, why are we just going to start copy pasting other powers onto them? Why? Honestly, I already made a video about this with the Facehugger gestation system. I made my own system. Also, Smug made their excellent rework, which actually does include this, and it isn't OP and stupid. Definitely go check that out, because I think they actually did a fantastic job at that. But just picking it up and lifting it and just putting it on Xeno, that, if we're trying to avoid sameness, that's including sameness. Oh, yeah. And another thing that I hear, which I actually kind of like get, I kind of understand it, is that stealth on the Xenomorph is not really a thing. We've talked about this before, both in the guide and here quite a few times, is that the motion sensors have a range of 41 meters, so it makes stealth on the Xenomorph really hard to pull off, and it's just basically based on the level of survivors you're facing and their understanding of your counterplay. Because if you're facing survivors that consistently know how to place turrets well, there's not really a reason these survivors should be getting snuck up on. Which feels bad, because the stealth as the Xenomorph is arguably the biggest part of the IP of the character's like abilities, is their ability to sneak around and stalk and do all that wonderful stuff, right? That I get, that I understand, and I do think it's disappointing that there is an undetectable stealth aspect to the character that does exist, which is the tunnels, that you're supposed to be undetectable down there, but the motion trackers just rat you out, so it's like you just actually don't have stealth at all. And even if you're topside and you're running like Oblivious, you're running Undetectable, you're running Modern Abuse or something like that, the motion sensors just don't care. That does suck. I do agree with that. But a lot of people have suggested to just make the character a full stealth killer. Once again, we're taking out the tail attack because it's bad, and we're going to add a full stealth power instead. Something a la like Ghostface or Myers, where their whole match is spent staring and stalking, and then something incredible happens, right? Where are those characters on the tier list? Where are those characters on the tier list? Are they bottom 10? I'm pretty sure they're bottom 10. I'm pretty sure they're some of the weakest characters that you can run in the game. Basically, the only characters that have like a meaningful stealth that actually matters is like Wraith. And even then, you mostly just use Wraith's cloaked form to get around the map. Once again, it's one of those things where, like, you know, the stealth in this game has tells to it, and Wraith is very loud and breathy, and he shimmers from a certain distance, so even good players can pre-run you. It's more just like you're zooming at him with Windstorm, right? The built-in Windstorm, I mean. Wraith is kind of like the only character that has like a meaningful stealth to it that is actually like built as a stealth killer, and that's like their main power, that it works well. I know there are other characters that get undetectable for random things, like Dracula's bats are technically are undetectable, but also they screech from across the map, so not really. Not actually. My point being is that stealth killers, no matter how fun they are some of the weakest characters in the game a lot of the time. They are not very good. Pig, we were just talking about Pig earlier. Pig's not a very, very good killer. Even after they gave her some adjustments to her dash, like, stealth killers in this game generally aren't good characters. Ghostface needs. Ghostface is one of those characters I actually dread playing because I'm just man with knife a lot of the time. And then after all of those things, right? So we've covered the wall crawling, we've covered the reason to get rid of the tail attack is it's too samey, we've covered the give them the face hug chest burst situation, let's make them a full stealth killer. After that, what do we have? What's next? Because I feel like a lot of people have a lot of feelings and ideas of like, well, Xenomorph bad. They did not do a good job of adapting the Xenomorph, but they don't really have a lot of good ideas about what would go in that place instead. Let's just add the Facehuggers. Okay, well, how do we differentiate from that pick? I don't know. Okay, add wall crawling. Okay, that's not really feasible. How do we do that? I don't know. Let's add stealth. Okay, would they not be like another like weak stealth killer that wouldn't be that a lot of people avoid playing because of their power level? I don't know. There's just a lot of like, I don't know. And it's just like, it wouldn't bother me, right? Like, I don't care that you don't like Xenomorph. Like, honestly, like it wouldn't bother me because it's just like, you know, everybody has yucks and yums, right? Everybody has things that are great that they like, and there's a lot of people that have things that they hate that they don't like. It's not my business what you hate and dislike, as long as it doesn't affect me. But I think it comes roundabout because whenever one of these like conversations kick up, I get a lot of people coming into my chat and being like, oh my gosh, Xenomorph's so bad. And I just have to sit here like in the middle of my stream listening to people be like, oh yeah, Xenomorph's terrible. I can't believe they didn't adapt them like this. They think they're so bad. And then it's like the yucks start coming to yuck my yum. And when I feel like my yums are getting yucked, I get upset because I like the way the Xenomorph has been implemented. I think that I would love to have a facehugger system. I would love to have the stealth mean more, but like, I'm not upset because once again, if you watch the movies, the tail attack is used a lot, and it's used a lot in the games that people like to worship as the preferable thing that should have come to DBD. So I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. Like it did not phase me at all. I did not question it at all. And the fact that so many other people are like, this is so abhorrent and terrible and disrespectful to the license. It's like, where is this coming from? Did you guys watch the movies? Did you play the games? Like genuinely, like the Xenomorph crawls around above and then comes down and then kills. That's what they do. Like, I understand for the logistics of DBD, you have to go under, not above, because like some maps just don't have a top. I get that, but like under is good enough, right? So you lurk under, zoom up, and when you zoom up, you're very quick and deadly. You ever watch Aliens? They're flying at you, Mach speed, taking you down, right? Like that's part of what they do. That's their thing. So it just never occurred to me. And I honestly, like, as somebody who's been like a lifelong fan of the series, and Aliens versus Predators, like the first movie I ever saw that was a horror movie, and it got me into horror movies in general. Like I genuinely mean it. I'm not saying this for like entertainment value. I'm not saying this to like, you know, ham it up, but like genuinely I am shook and appalled that people don't like this and don't think it fits the character. Like I am genuinely taken aback by that because it didn't even occur to me. It did not even occur to me when it first released that, hey, this is bad. This doesn't really fit the character. Are there things missing? Yeah, but like here's the last thing that I'll end on is a lot of the things I hear people talk about when they bring up the Xenomorph in terms of it's like, this doesn't fit the character, is like the flame turrets, right? they don't want the flame turrets to be the game, which once again, if you look at Smug's rework for the character, they transferred them over into like the little fun motion tracker they have in Isolation, except it's like actually like the Isolation motion tracker where it's like not as good, so it's a little bit more fair. Go check that out, please. Excellent rework. But a lot of them say that the flame turrets are not faithful to the Xenomorph because it makes the Xenomorph feel weak. It doesn't represent the invincibility of the character. Do you guys remember in Alien 1 when Ripley had the flamethrower and was like running around and like keeping the alien at bay? Remember in Alien Isolation, one of the greatest horror games of our time, where the game really kicks off when you get the flamethrower because you can actually start like warding the Xenomorph away from you, making it run away from you. You guys remember that? You guys remember that from like some of the most famous media having to do with this IP? Because I do. I think it's like falls into this like trap that like I've noticed a lot of IP characters fall into when it comes to Dead by Daylight. Is like, oh well, Michael Myers wouldn't even be hurt by a pellet if it dropped on his face. That doesn't make any sense. Why would Pinhead even react to a pellet being dropped on him? He's in the service of Leviathan. He's almost like a demigod. Yeah, well, this is a 4v1 video game where you're facing other people on the side of the screen. Like, these are real people. Yeah. Should you be this invincible domineering force in a PvE game? Absolutely. Absolutely. But like in a versus game with other people on the other side of the screen, you can't be invincible. And the fact that I have to explain that is frankly kind of unnerving. No, you don't get to be as invincible as these characters are in their IP. They do not. You do not get to be as strong as they are. Not even characters like Vecna, who have like in-universe explanations for why they are so weak in the realm. Like, you don't get to be the super invincible thing that has a get out of jail free card for every situation. I understand that's the Aliens thing. Is like they're the super adapters. They're parasites that can adapt to every situation and they're near indestructible. I get that, but like you can't put 4 other people on the other end of that and be like, that's fair. That's a fine time. You can't do that. You can't do that. So ergo, you can't use it as a, oh, well, that's not a faithful adaptation as a ruling as to why the Xenomorph is bad as an adaptation. You cannot do that. And honestly, if you hate it, The only other option would just be not to put him in the game. If that is something that truly upsets you and makes you angry, shouldn't have been put in the game. Xenomorph should not be in the game of Dead by Daylight. If you really wanted that big hulking scary thing that chased you all throughout Alien Isolation and just plop it in DBD, like, it would be better to not have it in the game, because they would be triple S tier and everybody would hate it. Everybody would hate it. So please stop using that as an explanation of like, oh, I just don't feel invincible. Like, well, yes, it's a versus game. There are times where one side feels good and there's other times where the other side feels good, but nobody gets to be invincible all the time. This is one of those videos that everybody's gonna hate, and I understand that. I know that's coming, because like, I know nobody agrees with me on this. I am old man shouting into the sky, because nobody cares. Nobody agrees with me, and that's okay. That's totally fine. But hey, that's how I feel. I already hearing about it, so there you go. It's all on record. Anytime everybody's like, how do you feel about this conversation, when it crops up again in another 4 months? Here, I made a whole video about it. I covered most of the things people say. There you go. So yeah. How do you feel about this Xenomorph? Do you think it was a terrible adaptation, or are you like me where it's like, I think it's fine? Let me know down in the comments below. But that's gonna be it for today's video, friends. Thank you so much for watching. If I made your day a little bit better today, and if I did not, I will try to do it again in the next video. But if I don't see you then, I will see you when I see you. Goodbye.